this week, on this Easter weekend. So, I've been out at the start of the week, and the past 2 nights, as I have mentioned, I have been down my local beach area, taking some pictures of the fantastically clear nights we've had. So I thought I would try out this new microphone for a second time and try it downstairs in my house and just record on the device itself and then just add the pictures in the software I use later. I'm not sure how everybody found the last video I did, the first video with this microphone. It certainly seemed a lot quieter background to me. But as I had mentioned, I've been playing with the microphone gain settings, which make a heck of a difference with this microphone. It's currently set about halfway, but the higher you get, the more white noise you pick up. And I am actually wearing headphones now to monitor the volume, and I can hear almost an artificial white noise. I'm going to try and get rid of this later when doing the video, but we shall see. This microphone comes with a free copy of Wavelab LE, I think it is, which is supposed to be very good in itself. But I normally just use Audacity or the software that comes with the video editing software I use. The white noise is certainly noticeable to me, but not overly so. So I'm fairly happy at the moment with the sound, but people will have to let me know. I have turned up the microphone gain nearly full and tried that, but it seems too forced or artificial for my liking. So this halfway setting seems fine to me, but people will have to let me know what they think. I am talking fairly quietly, even for a whisper, but the microphone is picking it up, what sounds to me just fine, so maybe somewhere between a whisper, a soft spoken, not quite inaudible. I hope it turns out okay for everyone anyway. Right, the picture that has been on while I've been talking. As I said, I just wanted to do a quick video for the microphone and audio test, but thought adding some of the pictures obviously gives a nice background to look at if anyone is watching the video. The first picture that I've had on is the first one I took at the start of the week when I was trying to capture the International Space Station. So this was just one of the trial shots I was doing to just see if everything was right on the camera and messing around with the settings. There is a monument local to myself in the background on the right, and it is an estuary in the foreground, and that is one of the towns near to me in the background, even though I'd travelled some way to get to this area in the first place. So I'm actually a lot further off in the distance where I live. This shot was cropped, so I'd zoomed in a fair bit, so it's not a great different settings. In this one I think I had a lower ISO setting and reduce the exposure. But the light pollution from the town in the background, although it was kind of ruining the shots I had come for to catch the space station, it did make for nice background images anyway, which I was surprised at. People often don't realise when they say somewhere they go is dark, you have to go really far away from a town, a city and all that to get somewhere that is really dark. And I've been a fair few places camping which are, from your perspective when you're there, as dark can be. You don't think it can be any darker. However, when you do some long exposure photography, and by that I mean when you take a picture for 30 plus seconds, something around that, the camera picks up a lot of light pollution that you would not realise was there, because we obviously can't see it with our eyes. So it's a disadvantage for people using telescopes and that kind of thing, but for photography I've found it actually makes some scenes rather interesting. Another shot I've done there is just a black and white picture of the ones I've been taking, zoomed right out. I tried a few different lenses, and I have a few prime lenses which are fixed lenses. By that they don't zoom in or out, they are fixed at what you buy them, and they are very good for certain situations you are planning to use them in. But I quite like this shot, as removing all the colour kind of highlights the stars a bit more and just shows how the light pollution can affect the sky of what you think was otherwise very dark. This shot is obviously, I do most of my pictures in Lightroom software, and all the pictures I take are in a RAW format, which means you can process them as they were taken by the camera. It's a crude description. You can alter a lot more settings later on. So I was just playing around with the colours to see how it was captured and to see what the sky was could be changed in the palette. This particular photograph I personally like, as it quite clearly has Orion's belt on the right upper side of the 3 stars in a row. And I did put a graduated filter, so I made the top of the photograph gradually darker, just to highlight the middle section. Played with the palette, so the light pollution was a bit more orange, which was more true to how it appeared when we were there. And the estuary and the foreground can still be seen. It was a 30-second shot, I think, thereabouts. But keeping everything rather dark and silhouetted, I thought, made it look quite a nice shot. That's a particular one I like, because we were stood right from where the picture was taken and we were there for some time, just having a general, me and one of my friends that I went down with, that I work with, and we were just having it's surprising whenever you go out somewhere a bit off the beaten track, so to speak, and especially under the stars. I find a lot with camping and things like that and hiking, you end up almost having more deep and meaningful conversations. It must be a primal instinct of some sort that you end up talking about more meaningful things when there is no distractions. And I really like that, and that's why I like being out as much as I can. This shot was the actual space station in the top right corner there. It always comes from a westerly direction from my point of view, but I'm kind of spoiled this shot as I forgot that the space station comes towards me from my perspective first, and then turns to go from west to a southeast direction. So when I started taking this photograph, and then thought that it was not the space station, as it just looked like a point that was getting slightly brighter. So I stopped the shot and then realised it suddenly turned and started going in the line. You can see it in the photograph, but I'd already stopped the photograph, and the camera takes a fair few seconds to process the pictures. They're not instant. It takes a fair few seconds to process and write it to the memory card. So by the time the camera had come back, I tried to move it, and I'd nearly missed the shot. If I'd have kept it running, I would have had a nice streak right the way across the sky. But still, I was glad I managed to catch it at all. And this is what I got after I'd moved the camera from the last shot. Unfortunately, we had the moon behind us, which was incredibly bright this night. And once it got a certain way in the sky, it was a bit too bright, and it just kind of ruined the shot, but still, I was glad I managed to catch it again. Once the space station had passed, I was then free to just mess, basically, and take pictures of any interesting things. This was actually the moon directly behind us in the other direction. As you can see, it's incredibly bright, and I'd actually lowered the exposure and contrast to dull it in this photograph. But it does highlight the trees quite nicely in a silhouette. This particular photograph now was of a different town in another direction to where we were, overlooking the other side of the estuary. The town and lights I tried to capture fairly sharply. It wasn't perfect, as I should have used a different lens, but I thought it turned out okay. Again, I darkened the sky with a filter a little bit from the top down, as the light pollution from the town was quite extreme, but luckily it seemed to turn out quite well, I thought. After that last shot, we had walked through the forest we were in to get to the estuary, and my friend goes there quite often with his dogs. So even in the dark, he was assuring me he knew where he was going. So I just took his word for it. quick shot as we were passing this way. The next few shots were just trying in the opposite direction to the last one. This was facing back on ourselves. You can still see the glow above the trees from the towns in the distance, but the sky looks a little darker, so it turned out okay. This shot was actually a plane was coming over at the time to land in an airport in the distance. It was obviously on some sort of final approach and just managed to catch it turning to its final destination. And this was a path we were walking on. This shot was a bit overly bright, but I was trying a bit of light painting, which is where you leave the camera running, take the photograph and leave it on a long exposure, and for a few seconds shine a torch of some sort in the camera's view and then turn it off. This can light up the foreground in front of the picture while still capturing the background at night. It was a little brighter than I wanted it to be, but I was just playing to see what it would look like. This was the other night when I was out, when I was trying to capture the space station again, which I have there in the background, right hand side. This is at the beach where I locally live, and the sun sets right over the beach, but even when it looks dark you have to wait a fair while for the sun to get further into the earth's shadow to enable the sky to be quite dark. And we have a very, very large wind farm off the coast now, which a lot of people have complained about. However, I did not realise that actually it can kind of make for some good photography shots in the background. Orion's belt again is obviously bright in the left middle side there with the 3 stars. And there is a space station going over again. This time a bit brighter, but I did not capture the background that well. This is just a zoomed out shot of the one before, with all the wind farms in the background. As I said, we have a very large wind farm. This is not all of it, as I didn't have a lens wide enough to capture it all. Again, this is pretty much the same shot, but I was trying different exposure and ISO settings, trying different times on the shots, 20 seconds, 30 seconds and so on. This was just straight up from where I was. It's an odd thing, as we have housing built a few hundred yards away from the actual coast beach area. So we have the light pollution of the streets and houses behind, and then the wind farms out on the horizon. But if you point straight up, it can be very dark and get some good pictures. But I have found that pictures of stars alone do not seem very appealing without something to focus on. this was a different area from where I was. It is an abandoned rescue lifeguard station with a tower and lifeboat storage area, so to speak, next to it. It is not used anymore. But I was taking pictures in the opposite direction out to sea and turned round and thought it might make an interesting silhouette in the background. But the light pollution from the town was obviously evident all the way across. This shot is of a large hill that we have in the background, which is prominent in our view from pretty much anywhere where you walk along the beach. There is another two towns just below it in the distance, which is the claw coming up from it, but I think it highlights the hill quite well. And obviously directly in front of me is just in silhouette. This was another shot of the lifeguard tower from before, but I'd gone right up to it and just tried to get it in focus with the starry background. It gives something to focus on, but I wish I'd have tried a few more shots of it. This was just looking the opposite way, trying to get the tower and the shed next to it as something to focus on to make the shot more interesting. And then the stars in the background with a far town just highlighting the other side. I quite like this shot because that tower near the middle there is actually an orange mobile phone tower, but gives something to look at, so it turned out okay. And again, this was just trying some light painting using a torch to try and light up the path where I was going. These particular shots were from last night. I went to roughly the same area as I was the night before, but just a little off. This was a more zoomed in shot with a different lens of the wind farms. As you might be able to tell, I was a lot closer to the hill I was mentioning, even though it's still a fair distance away. I had a more zoomed in lens looking directly at it from a closer area. The lights there are a small gathering of chalets, as they're called, right on the beach front, with a main street leading to them, so they are various street and housing lights. I had to dull them down quite a lot as they were incredibly bright, looking down that way against the sky. And this was just the same shot, but looking straight out to sea. The sun had not long gone down, so it still made quite a nice glow in the background. Again, this was just another picture looking straight up, but I just caught a plane going over, which you can tell by the staggered light trail that it leaves, with the red and white flashing lights that you see on the tails and underside of the planes. Again, this was looking the same direction as before, but with a much wider, shorter lens. This was probably an hour later, so it was much darker And this is just another light painting attempt of the grass where I was on, as I had to walk over a long field to get to a high enough position to take a shot over the beach area. And this is just the equipment I was using at the time. I had a red filter on the torch I was carrying with me, so I didn't ruin my night vision. But it was still fairly difficult walking round, trying not to trip over or fall down any steep embankments. But overall, I enjoyed the night, or nights I was down these places, and it made the week more interesting. I was out enjoying myself in the sunshine through the day, and then enjoying the stars at night. So for me, I quite enjoyed myself. It was cold at night because it was that clear, but I was quite content. It is surprising how relaxing it can be sitting there in silent darkness, pretty much, with nothing but the stars above. I think it instills some sort of primal instinct to just think about bigger things. It somehow seems to make all the problems that you are currently thinking about smaller. And I really enjoy that about being out at night, which is why I think I enjoy camping so much. If I could have stayed there, I would have sat there all night. But the pictures could be a heck of a lot better in so many ways. But just for a quick mess around, while I was out for a walk, I was fairly happy with how some of them turned out. And I'm actually, while producing this video, hopefully purchasing a new camera to replace the current one I've been using. So, if I get the bottle, I will press the buy button and get it bought. So I hope this has been an okay test of the microphone, and I hope it was interesting enough to keep people listening with the pictures. I thought it might just be something different than just having a webcam video of me talking. So I hope the new microphone and the settings I'm using are okay, at a good level, and I hope the background noise or lack of is a big improvement on what I was doing. So I hope everyone's relaxed, and I hope at least somebody's enjoyed the video, and people will have to comment and let me know if it is an improvement on the last, and anything I can do to hopefully make it better. So I will try and get this video done and see how it sounds, and hopefully sync the audio with the pictures I've been talking about. So thanks for watching, everybody. I hope everyone's having a really nice Easter weekend,